They say a man can run from the law, but never from his sins. Doc Red Martin learned this when his miracle mouth all cure left a trail of carved smiles and broken bodies. As a consequence of his greed, the relatives of his victims retaliated and gave him the same grin as his victims through both torture and torment. From the ruin of that misery rose the fool, hollowed of mercy. Judge Moby Winford was a man shattered by his daughter's death and disillusioned with law, a man who had abandoned all reason and logic, instead turning to the cards of tarot for judgment. In the wake of Doc Red Martin's crimes, he became the Pale Judge, relentless in his pursuit for the cards that once spared this man, binding him to a chance at redemption, a chance that he wasted. Now the judge writes again, tarot cards in his hand, promising no mercy. In his escape from the law, the fool decided to hide among the ruins of Alice Farm, shielded by Dorothy Alice, the last of her family. But fate is clear, the deck has been laid, and now the final verdict draws near. The town awoke to thunder and gunfire. The Pale Judge had summoned his followers to Lewis's saloon, demanding that Doc Red Martin, the fool, be delivered unto his justice. But the fool was no longer without allies, and from the shadow and ruin, outlaws had gathered at his side, meeting both the judge and his enforcers shot for shot and blade for blade. The saloon floor was slick with blood before the echoes faded, and when the smoke finally cleared, the fool still stood, having managed to escape the hand of law one more time. As he fled the city, his grin stretched wide beneath the yellow shroud, confidently daring the judge to try to bring him to justice once again. Through rain-soaked graveyards and mud-choked fields, the judge pressed on. To him, blood was the only cleansing, the only saving grace for the fool, and the bio would drink deep before he deemed order to be restored. On the path he followed, bodies laid unburied, smiles carved into their faces, as if fate itself was mocking the judge in his pursuit. The fool had escaped his sentence for far too long now, leaving a trail of body in his wake that no man of the law could accept. The face of the judge's daughter haunted his every step, her death a wound that no sentence would ever be able to heal. The whispers of the fool's continued injustice and heinous crimes stoked the fire within him until rage alone guided the judge's hand into their third and final encounter. Storms tore across the bayou as both sides gathered for the last clash. Steel split flesh, rifles cracked, and the cries of the infected drowned in the slaughter. At the center stood the fool and the Pale Judge, both bound by fate and mirrored in damnation. When the last guns fell silent, the judge found himself alone among the carnage, and in that moment, he was captured by the fool and dragged onto the stage of Lewis's saloon beneath a sickly yellow light. And here, the fool would deliver his own version of perverted justice. He bound the judge to a chair, locked his jaw open with an iron contraption, and tilted his head backwards. Bottle after bottle of Miracle Mouth All-Cure was poured down his throat until the poison that had damned so many now coursed through the judge himself. He convulsed, choked, and screamed, his voice breaking into songs, cries, and sobs all at once. Twisted by the touch of the elixir, the judge's mind was warped, and then came the visions. With wet, choking cries, he saw his daughter skipping before him, her decapitated head tucked beneath her arm, and her entire body soaked in blood. She whispered and laughed, circling him like a specter of everything he had lost. He went mad, begging for forgiveness while raging at the fool, promising that judgment would still be upon him. But the bottles of the all-cure kept coming, and his mind broke under the weight of their affliction. When his rambling turned to whimpers, the fool cut the bindings and pressed the final deck into his hands. It was no ordinary set of cards. These were strips of skin, warm and slippery, peeled from flesh and bone. With shaking fingers, the judge tried to read them, desperate to divine a fate other than the one that had now closed in around him. The fool laughed, watching him struggle, watching him weep. As he turned the card, he was horrified. The verdict was simple. Blood was the only answer. It was both the prize and punishment, the only law now left in the bayou. As the life drained from the judge, the fool stood over him, smiling through the storm. Judgment had been delivered, not by law, not by cards, but by the essence of ruin itself. And so the judge met his demise. The fool lived on, his laughter echoing through the mud-soaked ruins, a reminder that within the dead zones, justice can truly be blind. Hey there, Matt here. That covers the story about the judgment of the fool. But if you've been keeping up with the official Hunt Showdown channel, then you've probably already seen the trailer for the upcoming event. And in case you haven't, I'll attach the video right here, so go check it out. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to let me know in the comments below. As always, a big thanks goes out to the Hunters Lounge, specifically the exclusive Johnny Sevens, the exclusive The Coyote, the exclusive Gitchy Boy, the exclusive War Monk, and the exclusive Rat. The VIPs, Corvo Bear Slayer, Derivative, Doug Powell, Gino Lucero, Goose, Hambone, Jiminel Bob, Corey Peterson, Michael Fornell, Mortev Menace, Hein, Slip, Stas Biestic, Sunrise Phoenix, TJ Crane, Texas Toast, and the Wizard of Copper, and of course, all the regulars. If you want to support the ongoing lore, then consider signing up as a member of the Hunters Lounge for as little as $1 a month. The link is in the description below. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.